And basic training, no matter what your MOS is, basic training is a set standard 10 weeks. 10 full weeks of training. Well, 9 weeks is pretty much the bulk of your basic training experience. And the last week and a half is in preparation for a graduation ceremony. Then your AIT, your advanced individual training, is however many weeks your particular MOS that you signed up for is. Same thing with OSUT, whether it's 22 weeks or something shorter than that. But basic training in of itself is going to be 10 weeks. Even when you do OSUT, one station unit training, you're still going to have a celebration and a ceremony for 30 minutes around the 10-week mark to signify that you've met the graduation requirements or completed the basic training requirements, if that makes sense. Rogan Rossi Carney says, best way to utilize tuition assistance for college to get everything covered or is possibly get a refund check. So if you're in any three components of the Army, whether you're active Army, Army Reserve, or the Army National Guard, we all only get $4,500 through the federal tuition assistance per year that you can use towards tuition. Now, if you're going National Guard, the best bet for your bang for your buck would be to go Guard if you're going part-time, because we pay up to 100%. Here in New York, we do pay 100% up to your first 4-year degree. And we have things pending at the state level to increase that to a master's program. But with that being said, that's pretty much how it works. I just posted a more in-depth video link titled the National Guard Education Benefits. Check that out. It also includes a reserve and active duty as well. But good question. All right, so Melissa, 40 years old, leaving in April to basic as a 15 Romeo. I know that's in the aviation field. I'm not sure what Romeo is specifically, but it says that her son just graduated AIT and he is back home to go to college. Outstanding. That's what I'm talking about. Good stuff. Congrats. All right, so we got Robert Z says, would you be able to explain the MEPS process for once state approves my packet? My MedPro is green, thank you. So you're gonna have to go through. All right, so I'll say this because it really depends. If you have a valid PHA, physical health assessment, and it's been evaluated and approved, and you've been out of training or out of the military for less than 6 months, maybe 12 months, depending on what the current guidance is, but definitely less than 6 months, then you won't have to do the medical at MEPS. You'll just go and sign your contract and essentially be like a field enlistment or a papers only contract. But if you've exceeded 6 or 12 months and they're looking at your MedPros, then there may be a possibility that you might have to do the medical exam all over again. But if they're going off of your PHA, which it sounds like, and you're under the 6 or 12 months, then you'll just avoid MEPS. You'll just be going to sign your contract, basically. In short. Jabril Claiborne says, hi, I'm about to be 27 years old soon. I'm a police officer, but also have always wanted to be in the military. I've been very interested in the 68 whiskey. And he also says, I'm about to... Oh, any advice? Okay, same question. All right, cool. So, first of all, congratulations on wanting to serve. That's great because you can double dip. You can get paid by the police department and the military for your military duties. So depending on your organization that you work as a law enforcement officer, they could offer you up to 20-30 days on average for paid military leave on top of your sick leave, normal vacation leave, and all that good stuff. And for your drill weekends, or you can reserve it for your 2 weeks in the summertime to double dip and get paid by the law enforcement agency and the Army for that duration of your annual training, if that makes sense. And if this is something you definitely want to do, you go for it. I think it's great. If I could do things over again, as much as I love being a recruiter and I love being full-time, I kind of like the aspect, like thinking, like now that I'm older, if I could go back to younger self, I would have stayed National Guard and found another federal city or state job and worked both of these at the same time, got 2 pensions, 2 investments, and all that, and have benefits from both organizations. And ironically, I wanted to be in law enforcement, but I'm red, green, colorblind, so I don't qualify for 99.9% of them. But yeah, I mean, I'm still making the best of what I have. So, but I appreciate you. And Atkins says, hardest thing about basic. For me, I would probably say it's safe to say that being treated like a child at basic training can be challenging for a lot of people, because you will legitimately be told what to do, when to do it, how to do it, with a smile on your face, whether you feel like doing it or not. And it's no days off. There's no Netflix and chill. I'm tired. I'm going to sleep in today. It's nothing. So it's go, 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 and being micromanaged like you're a child. But other than that, for me, that's probably the hardest part. But that's just my 2 cents. Rogan says lack of sleep. Yeah, I can see that too, especially if you have somebody that snores loud as a mother flower next to you. Quickest way to take 5 inches off my waist to make tape to enlist, and tips and tricks. 30 years old, 270. This would probably be depending on how aggressive you are following this protocol, is my TEAM SWARTZ fat loss strategy to join, leveraging a ketogenic diet, intermittent fasting protocol, a caloric deficit, at minimum walking an hour to 2 hours a day at a brisk pace, and drinking a gallon of water per day. And if you follow the warrior diet, it's not really a diet, but the warrior time frame where you fast for 20 hours a day and then you have a 4-hour feeding window, to me that is the best bet. That I did that, and in about 3.5 months I dropped around 32 to 35 pounds. I can't quite remember, but it's in that video. It's worth checking out, and I think that would be right up your alley. Now, the more disciplined you are, the more consistent you are, the faster and better the results, providing you don't have any medical conditions. So definitely check out the disclaimer in that video. Maya says, have people gotten medical waivers approved for people with multiple medical conditions if the MOS is relatively low risk, like music? Is a food allergy waivable, especially for reserve? One of mine. So without your specifics, I can't give you a specific assessment, but you could have multiple medical issues, and as long as the medical waiver gets approved, you're in there like swimwear and you are good to go, and it will all go under one medical waiver. So let's say if you had childhood asthma, a broken knee, an allergy to, let's say, a mild allergy to peanuts, I'm just saying, for example, then it would fall under one medical waiver, and as long as that medical waiver gets approved, you're good. Now, not knowing the specific allergy, depending on the allergy, if it's food related, I would suggest that you get an updated pulmonary functions test and a food challenge test, where you consume the allergen in front of a medical professional and they annotate the signs and symptoms observed and expressed, and they can type up a memo stating that yes, patient tested positive for an allergy on XYZ, and based on this food challenge test, ABC was observed. It is a mild allergy and is not life-threatening and whatever, right? I did a medical waiver here. You might want to go check it out. It's valuable. Lots of great information in there. And I'll probably answer a lot of your questions and concerns. And it doesn't matter if you're reserve or full-time. South Jersey Artisan said, yeah, I fixed it. Appreciate you, bud. Thanks. Hope all is well, man. Jordan Begley says, what recruiting crisis? The recruiting crisis was a time period where we weren't putting a whole lot of people in. The only exception to all of this was in the New York Army National Guard. We have been the #1 state in the country for the past 5, maybe 6 years, and the #1 company in the country, as far as the National Guard is concerned, for the past 6 to 7 years. So we are very proudful of that, and we're killing it. We continue to kill it, and no matter what they throw at us, we adapt, adjust, and overcome. And that's what makes our company unique and specific to the recruiting crisis. But with that being said, yes, there was a period during COVID that other branches, to include the Army, has been struggling. And like I was alluding to earlier in the conversation, Big Army, in my opinion, is still not hitting the mark to what they normally typically perform. Maybe this year they're on point, but last year they moved the goalpost from 40,000 to 30,000, and as a result, they ended their end strength goal just above 30,000, and then pounding their chest like they exceeded mission, when in reality they still failed mission. But again, that's just my personal opinion. Blueberries, can you join the Army National Guard if you have an expunged criminal felony? All right, so Blueberries, I want you to understand something, and this goes for anybody else who has a record that has been expunged. All right, so in one way, if your record was truly expunged, meaning that everyone did what they said they were supposed to do, meaning that the court purged your record, the online database of your arrest record was purged, and any other database and any other thing that it ties into your criminal history was completely expunged and terminated, then the military would never know about it if they were to run a background check. And that's something that you're definitely gonna have to look into. So I say that to say this. If that is the case, what I just described is the case, then you could probably get away with it not disclosing it because there's no record of it. And they did what they said they were going to do. But oftentimes, as a recruiter of over 20 years, people that have had expunged records, when we do an FBI record arrest check, we still see a date that they were arrested, but there's no details to it. And what ends up happening is you get so excited that your record is expunged and you get rid of your records. And now there are no records because the courthouse expunged it, but for some reason, not every department fully expunged your record. And in this example, the arrest record or the arrest date is still in the system, but again, there's no information tied to it. So now it's word of mouth, and we have to, for lack of a better phrase, trust that whatever details that you're sharing with us is true and accurate and honest. And in these examples, because you don't have any paperwork saved up, the military has to look at what you share and make a determination, is the risk worth the juice for the squeeze? Meaning that if we were to enlist you and approve you to come in with an expunged record, not seeing concrete like official documentation, are you worth it? Like, let's say they say, yeah, it's worth it, but then they find out later on that you messed up, and then they look back and be like, oh, well, he had an expunged record, probably not worth it, right? So in my personal opinion, expunged records don't help your case. They make things worse. Having the documentation that proves that you are innocent is the best case scenario to get a waiver, or to not even require a waiver at all. Like if it was outright dismissed, the district attorney declined to prosecute, things like that, like outright dismissal, then you're good to go. Like that waiver will get approved. But as soon as there's like a conditional release where you stay out of trouble for 6 to 12 months, or they put you on probation, whether it's supervised, unsupervised, you pay back restitution, regardless if it was dismissed and those things were in place, you're going to be perceived and treated as if you were guilty. So unfortunately, that's what we're working with, in kind of like in summary, how we view and look at and how those things work and impact a potential applicant. But good luck to you, Blueberries. All right, so we got Big Pen. A few other recruiters online said the loophole around MEPS was filling out HIE, Health Information Exchange, opt-out forms to doctors you've seen, and MEPS can't see your history. Is this true? Yes. I personally don't know through experience with my potential applicants if this is a true and valid way of going around it. I have had other recruiters and applicants and newly enlisted recruits tell me that they did this and it worked. But here's the problem that you're going to run into, right? if you use this loophole to get in, it's a temporary horrible loophole that got you into the military, and later on throughout your military, it, like, I don't know how long that would be good for, but like, hear me out. At some point, let's say you make this a career and you do 20 years. Are you really going to remember and keep up and keep completing these HIE opt-out forms for the rest of your career? Because if you're going active duty, you're going into the military. And if it's something that could come up through an evaluation or a test, and you got through the system, through this loophole, and it gets identified later that you had a pre-existing condition. So what happened? All right, so hypothetically, let's say you had a knee surgery and you're like, you know what? I don't want them to know about it. I'm going to opt out HIE. Cool. I'm in there like swimwear. Now you're in basic training. Or let's fast forward 5 years from now, you're in a training exercise and you mess up your knee and they go to do surgery and they look at the x-rays and it's like, wow, you've got some scar tissue, and they can see on the bone that you've had a previous break or what have you, showing a pre-existing injury. Now you're being subjected to a fraudulent enlistment. And you could and should and most likely will get discharged as a result, at least based on observations and my recruiting experience. So my advice to you is to do it the right way, obtain the waivers, and that way you're fully covered. Because let's say in a perfect world, you do go through that loophole and you serve your time, and at the end of your 20 years, you go to retire and you put in your veterans disability claims. Because you hit it, and let's say it comes up when they do the check, or you try to, because you're gonna have to do a HIPAA release form, right? Because they have to look into your medical records, because they're not going to give you compensation for something that was pre-existing. So, food for thought. Hopefully that makes sense. Best to go get a medical waiver. I don't know what you're dealing with or whatever, but to me, that's a band-aid that's ultimately going to get you discharged. Let's say you join, you get through this loophole 10 years from now, and you get fraudulently discharged. You just wasted 10 years of your life investing into a retirement system that you're not going to be able to use. Is it really worth it? So do the right thing. That's my recommendation. Giuseppe says, so my unit basically told me I had to go on a 1-week training. Is this something I can force you to do, or can... Well, Giuseppe, welcome to the United States Army. Yes, you do whatever your unit tells you to do. Hashtag I'm just saying. Is some security training or something like that. Hey man, embrace it. You're good. Just do it. You got no choice. I mean, you're in the Army. Unless it's illegal, immoral, or unethical, and you can prove it, then you got to do what you're told to do. Welcome to the Army. That's how it works. Melissa, helicopter mechanic. Yes. But is it UH-60? Or all the different types of aircrafts that are out there. Amaya says 23 years old, gonna be a 42 Romeo, by the way. Yes, I knew what the music MOS was for the Army, at least. Got through MEPS successfully, and I'm waiting on my consults for the potential waiver submission. All right, good stuff. I actually have a consult for one of my applicants right now that we're waiting for the chief medical officer, the CMO at MEPS, to qualify, because I know he's not going to, but close it out so we can submit our medical waiver. All right, next one is M1 Garrison says, how do I make sure I don't have to get the COVID-19 shot? Do I need to make sure that is in my contract? Do I need a waiver? How do I make sure I don't get sneak shot in? Which it's already been yeah, you don't need to worry about it, and it's not something that they're going to put in your contract. It's just no longer a thing. The president did away with it. President Biden did away with it in his last term. So you're good. They don't sneak that in. They don't even offer it anymore at the training sites. Amaya, I'm very adamant about my serving through my passion for music and camaraderie, and I refuse to let my conditions hinder me. I think you'll be just fine. Most medical waivers get approved. JG says, if I could do it all over again, I wouldn't have gone reserve. Would you have gone active duty? JG, 12 years and had nothing to show for it. So you got out after 12 years? What's basic like for re-enlisting after 5 years out? You go through basic training again if you don't get approved for the Army Integration Course. So ask for the AIC, Army Integration Course. The Army Integration Course is a 5-week, 5-week gentleman's course. So you go from basically BRM, basic rifle marksmanship, through the rest of the training. You're treated with dignity and respect as a prior service individual. And it's a lot better experience than going through basic training and kind of sort of being treated like the rest of the new trainees, like a noob, like a complete boot. And Atkins says, how's Wales up in the morning at basic training? Not sure. Oh, I think you meant wake up. Yeah, you did. Okay, yeah. So how's wake up in basic training? Trust me, you'll be fine. And your battle buddies will wake you up too. I recommend that you get a watch, but don't get a smart watch or something you have to recharge and stuff because they won't allow it. And whatever watch you do get, it cannot have any type of GPS in it. It's got to be a regular, generic, all green, OD green watch. Amaya says, mine is mild peanuts, can eat peanut butter and shellfish, no NFX. Okay, so you'll be fine. That's an easy waiver. Just do a food allergy challenge test. Holo Life says, how long after signing up do you before you get discharged? Huh? How long after signing up? All right, without further context or more information, just by going off of how long after you sign up do you get discharged, in just that alone, at the end of your contract, that's when you would be discharged if you don't decide to stay in longer. But if you're missing something in this, please repost your question. Apologize, but I don't have enough to fully understand your question. Amaya also says, I also have post-psychiatric things that got proven wrong and did current, but ADHD, well managed for years, unmedicated, and high functioning autism with no language, intellectual impairments, etc. That's my specific case. Sorry to put my business out there. No worries. So you're definitely going to want to watch this medical waiver video guide and the autism video that I have too. Hang on, it's coming. Autism video. All right, so my autism video tells you the additional documentation that you'll need that I didn't discuss in my medical waiver guide. In the medical waiver guide, we'll talk about ADHD and your depression. If you didn't have any anxiety, then your waiting period will be minimal. But if you haven't had any issues with depression or anything else, or did you say anxiety or just depression? Oh, if it's just ADHD, you're good if you've been off of medication for more than 6 months. And if you follow the autism stuff, you'll be fine too. In the end, you're going to be fine. You're a good candidate to get a favorable consideration for your waiver, so you're good. All right, so we got Scylla Strickland. Thank you so much. Appreciate the hashtag Team Swartz. We got, is that a variant with the Drill Sergeant Swartz? Hell yeah. Martin says hi from Hollywood. Hi. Howdy. JC Miller says, broken bone from 10 to 15 years ago. Would you need a waiver for those? If you would, just to have contact the doctor's office and get the medical records for all the injuries. Everything that I'm going to share with you is going to be in this video in more detail. But yes, you do need an updated evaluation, at least x-rays, and whatever evaluations your doctors will make you do. Follow the directions in that video and you'll be fine. More than likely, you're still going to need a waiver. And I'm going to come back to Scylla Strickland. All right, because I just got a super chat from, thank you so much, Michael Bryant. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Really do. Hashtag Team SWARTZ. I love it. Does a black Timex expedition with a vibrate alarm suffice for training? Yes. As long as it does not have a GPS inside of it, then you're good to go. All right. So just again, no GPS, Timex, G-Shock. Doesn't matter the name of the brand. As long as it's all black or all green, you're good to go, and no GPS. All right. Appreciate you, and thank you for supporting the channel. Same thing with Viper. Thank you so much. I'm not sure if you tried to attach a comment to this, so I'm going to try to pay attention up here, but appreciate you supporting the channel. I'm scrolling back up to Scylla Strickland. Oh, Viper did have a question, so I'm going to hook you up because you helped me out. Appreciate you. Viper says, how hard is it to get option 4, I think he meant 40, for Airborne contract? I'm not an active duty recruiter to let you know how hard it is to get, but it is going to be attached to your MOS. So as long as you're flexible with the MOS and or your duty station, then it shouldn't be that big of a deal to get that position. But your active duty recruiter can definitely help you out with that. All right. Appreciate you. All right, we got Scylla Strickland with the, my son asked me a question and I did not know the answer. How long have you been doing this live? Army strong, and I can't say this enough for all these younglings. Thank you, sir. Well, I appreciate you. He's asking you how long I've been doing these lives. I've been doing social media content since 2012, before 2012. And long story short, I did a page that was called Workout for Your Life when I was a Beachbody coach. So, I mean, you're younger than me, I'm sure, but I'm 43 and I used to do like P90X and Insanity workouts with beachbody.com. And I eventually became a, I forgot what they called them, but anyway, I used to sell their products and post workout videos and motivational stuff. But anyway, from 2012 on, I decided, you know what, why not I do this as a recruiter? And that's exactly what I did. So from 2012 to about 2016, no, up until 2018, I was primarily focused on Instagram, posting short videos. And then I realized that the 10 videos I did on YouTube in that time frame was what was funneling all my referrals to Instagram. So I thought Instagram was popping, but really it was my YouTube. And I deleted my Google Plus account, which my YouTube channel, my emails, all that stuff that was connected to that Google Plus account, I lost everything. So I reopened up a new channel. And then around 2020, when I graduated from the Drill Sergeant Academy, I just went and focused on YouTube ever since. So from August of 2020 till now, I've been religiously live streaming every Wednesday for 2 hours. And I mean, unless I'm out of town or something happened, like my mom passing away back in September. But aside from that, I've been live streaming almost every week. BK, if you have a major misconduct or any other serious criminal charge, wherever your waiver gets accepted, or depends on two things: time period that has elapsed since the crime and the economy. The economy has nothing to do with your waiver, but the worse off your criminal charge is, the higher the level waiver it is. So let's say it goes to a DMPM waiver. That one's probably going to take, on best case scenario, 3 or 4 months. Worst case scenario, 6 months, maybe a little bit longer than that. It really depends on your unique circumstances and the details to your case or cases. And your applicant statement needs to show what you've done since the last criminal charge to make your life better. All right, so everything matters from the last incident till now, what you've done since then, how you've grown and improved your life and made better strides and all that good stuff. Viper says, how hard is it to get, we talked about that. Embrace the suck, don't get smoked, facts. Ooh, Apache, that's what I'm talking about. I'm excited for you. That's got to be a lot of fun. Who knows? Maybe you will be able to go fly that. You fly it, but fly in it. That's awesome. Because yeah. So if I were ever to revert back to a part-time soldier, that's where I want to go. I want to go to the aviation unit so I could fly around and tinker around on the planes and stuff like that. I don't know. It just attracts me. I just love aviation for some reason. Not jets and stuff. That's boring to me. But yeah, helicopters, I love it. Robert Z says, I just checked and I did my new PHA back in January. How long have you been out of the military, Robert? How long have you been out? JG, I'm going to come back to you because I just got another super chat from Viper. That's what I'm talking about. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. And Viper says, I go to MEPS on the 11th of this month. I'm overweight, but can pass all the physical requirements. I used to take mood, anxiety, I'm assuming medication. I have been on or off my meds for 2 years, going on 3. Love the video. All right, so good news, bad news. Currently right now, anxiety is treated at like the highest level of like risk factors, so to speak. And don't be surprised if they say that you have to wait a minimum of 3 years from when you got off of medication. So the good news is you're very, very close to your 3-year anniversary from when you got off of meds. So if they say that, it's not that long of a wait, if that makes sense. And that will give you more time to get in shape, lose fat, and be primed for basic training. So that's the upside. And those things are not going to permanently disqualify you, but it just may make you wait just a little bit longer. How many more months before the 3-year anniversary? Hopefully you don't say like 9 months or something crazy like that. Hopefully it's under 6 months. But let me know. I appreciate you. Oh, Robert said, I'm still in. It was a yearly checkup. Oh, then you're good. So papers only or field enlistment. You don't have to go back to MEPS for anything if it gets approved. Ooh, Viper, that's good. 3 months? That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, so by the time you get through the waiver process, it'll probably be close to that anyway. So, but again, if they say you have to wait until the 3-year anniversary, then you'll just appeal it and they'll approve it at after the 3-year anniversary. All right, JG, I would have either gone active with the Special Forces contract or Guard Special Forces contract. I forgot what you were saying before that. Hang on, let me scroll up a little bit. I don't quite remember what you said. Oh, I see. You've been out for 5 years. Okay, so now you're looking at maybe going active duty or National Guard. Okay, I dig it. Now, I will ask for it, but I wouldn't mind regular basic training. So the person to ask what that, I mean, are you going through a regular Army recruiter or National Guard recruiter, or are you going through a Special Forces recruiter? So I just posted the Colorado Army National Guard Special Forces interview podcast that I did with a operator and recruiter and a National Guard recruiter. They both started out as infantry, and the operator, his face is going to be blurred out throughout the whole podcast. He's still actively serving as an operator, so that's why his face is blurred out and voice slightly distorted. But yeah, and sometime in June I should be doing another interview out of Wisconsin or Minnesota. I can't remember which one of those 2 states over there. I'll be doing another interview with more operators, so it should be pretty dope. But yeah. But yeah, reach out to them and ask all of your Special Forces questions, and they'll shoot it straight for you. Amaya, you're very welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully you're still here. Spike says, if I get denied my special consult with a MEPS doctor, is that just for the Army or all branches? Wanted to try the Air Force. If I get denied, would I have to do a full ASVAB and MEPS processing over again? So whatever MEPS processing you did, all those tests are good for 2 years. And if one branch denies your consultation, then you can try a new branch of service and see if they can get the consult done. without knowing what the type of consult that you're looking for. I don't know if it's something that we would normally provide, but some things are so unique and not often utilized, and we don't offer, or it's expensive, and that's why we don't have or offer consultations for that. So you may have to either pay out of pocket or utilize your own insurance to get a consult done on your own behalf, on your own accord, in your own pocket. Tracy Morrison says, how long do you see DMPM waivers take? Like I said moments ago, it could take up to 6 months on average. Spike says, failed the hearing by 1 in my left ear, kind of nervous I won't get 11x, option 40. I don't know about the option 40 part, but when you say it failed by 1, what do you mean failed what by 1? Like 1 point or 1 decibel? Like what does that even mean? Bumblebee says, Bumblebee tuna. You get the reference. If you know, you know. Just got back from MEPS, applied myself and took all the advice, got an 81. Hell yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Hell yeah. All right, so we got, well, first of all, Bumblebee, that is awesome. Keep up the hard work. Amaya says, that complicates my case then, because I was misdiagnosed with these things because they overlap with autism and psychiatrists aren't specialized in that. That will make it lengthy. So get a consultation done from both and just hope for the best. But, and again, like I said, all those things are not going to prevent you from joining. You'll be all right. Kathy or Caddy S says, to what degree of myopia farsightedness is allowed? I have 9 each eye. I don't know the specific numbers to what is or isn't allowed off the top of my head, because I don't really deal with myopia often. Usually by the time I find out that the applicant has myopia is after they did an eye consultation at MEPS, and then we find out, or they get past MEPS successfully, and ironically when they do extensive eye tests at the reception process, when you go to basic training, they figure out people have myopia and some other eye conditions or whatnot. But yeah, so myopia can be pretty bad. I actually looked into it the other day just because I apparently have been diagnosed with it within the last 5 years, and I don't remember my eye doctor telling me about it, but I found it in my record. So yeah, not good, but that's why those waivers are typically denied often. So that's not good news for you, but I hope the waiver gods are forever in your favor. Amaya says, will I get a chance to share my compelling applicant statement about how anxiety, depression were misattributed? Yes, it's called an applicant statement. And when you sit down with the psychiatrist, or not the psychiatrist, the psychologist. But with that being said, you definitely gonna want to watch my video, because my medical waiver, I'll post it in here again. It's also linked down below, by the way. So word of caution. You don't want to sit there and say that you were misdiagnosed. You could say, based on my own unofficial research, I feel that I've been misdiagnosed, but I would bring that up with your doctor or psychologist. But in your applicant statement, don't say that I was misdiagnosed unless you get a doctor stating that in on record, like on a memorandum or letter on their official letterhead, stating that yes, you were misdiagnosed. Otherwise, our waiver department does not want to hear something like that. You need to, in your applicant statement, whether you agree with it or not, you need to say and own the situation. Like, yes, I've had this. This is why I had this. This is how I overcame it. These are the coping mechanisms that I used back then. These are the coping mechanisms I use now. This was my support system then. This is my support system now. This is how long I've been signs or symptom free. And I project that I'm not going to have any issues in this because of my support system and everything that I've learned through whatever counselings and yada, yada, yada. But watch the video, explains all that in more detail, to include what we're looking for in the all clear letter as well. Hunter says, can you join after backing out during DEP? Hunter Suo, Are you active duty or regular Army? And JG going through. Oh, okay. So you're already with the best of the best. Starting first class. Good stuff, JG. Yes, he's actually in the podcast. Look at that. Small world. Let's see. Now, JG, did you find him before or after you found me? I'm just curious. Or did you find him through my video? I'm really curious about that part. So I'm hoping my video is funneling people to him. That's why I'm asking. But anyway, Hunter Suo. Let me know if you're active, guard, or reserve. Amaya says, Amaya's on fire tonight. She's got a lot of questions. I love it. Keeping me busy, keeping me occupied. Earning my pay tonight, basically. I do have a history of bullying, so it made them think that I had it until I went and ruled it out after getting a second opinion. Hope this makes my waiver a little less complicated. A lot of information. When you say history of bullying, as you being the victim or the bullying or the bully themselves? Anakin Skywalker says, do you get blood taken out at MEPS and at reception, or only at MEPS? For certain, you definitely get blood taken at MEPS. I don't think blood is taken out of you at reception, but if you watch my basic training reception video, because it's been a while since I researched it and curated that video, but definitely at MEPS, but you're getting more tests done at reception, but they're just giving you shots, but they're not taking blood. I don't recall them taking more blood. The reason why they're taking blood at MEPS, aside from like checking your cholesterol and stuff like that, but they're also trying to figure out your blood type so that when you do go to reception at basic training, they know what blood type to put on your ID tags. Hunter Sua says, I was going active duty with the Navy. However, COVID struck and my dad was sick, so I stayed home. Gotcha. So Hunter Suo, can you join after backing out during DEP? Were you DEP discharged already, or are you pending to be discharged from DEP? Let me know, Hunter. All right, Aiden Velez says, I went to MEPS and went through the medical part just fine. When they checked my heart rate, it was high because I was nervous. Sounds like white coat syndrome. So I had to get a waiver for that and get an EKG done. Will I be okay? Yes. Unfortunately, some applicants do get like the white coat syndrome where they just automatically feel nervous. Plus, we feel like as applicants when we're processing a MEPS that we have a lot on the line and we just overstimulate our mind and stress or like feel anxious about passing and stuff, which is perfectly normal. So with your EKG and getting 2 to 3 consecutive days of heart rate readings, your recruiter will tell you and give you a form to have all that stuff done. But most of those waivers are approved unless your heart rate consistently is high and beyond what they're comfortable with approving. Tranquility Plus, I'm going to come back to you because I want to address Hunter Sewell. This is 4 years ago. Oh yeah, it's an easy waiver. Now, if you're active duty and DEP discharge, there shouldn't be anything, like you don't need a waiver. If you were active duty and you were DEP discharge, because you were never in paid status, it was like it never happened, so you'll be fine. Unless you made it to the training site. Like if you just never shipped out to training and were DEP discharged, then you're good. In most cases, you don't even need a waiver for that. Tranquility Plus says, prior service, left MEPS today, have to get a sleep apnea waiver and some old prescription documentation or lack thereof. Genesis is a beach. Ain't like the old days. Love the content. Team Swartz. Hell yeah, appreciate that. Sorry that you have to deal with that. And Genesis is a biatch for sure. She needs to go. Pack up her bags and go. Throw a box of trash bags and be like, here's your matching luggage. Get that F out. Hashtag I'm just saying. You don't have to go home, but you got to get up out of here. You know what I'm saying? Robert Z, still in. Was out for a yearly checkup. Oh, yeah, we already covered that. 7X says, can I still join the Army with Hashimoto's that was confirmed by my doctor to be stable and fit to join the Army, but it requires me to take 1 pill a day. Can this disqualify me from joining? You know what? I'm going to look something up real quick because Hashimoto sounds familiar. It stands out to me for some reason. I don't know if it was it's my mouse not going. All right, so let's look it up. What is Hashimoto's? Oh. What is Hashimoto? That's not right. Let me type it in. What is Hashimoto? I just have to refresh my memory. Uno momento, por favor. Hashimoto's disease, also known as Hashimoto's thyroiditis, or chronic lymphocytic thyroiditis, is a chronic autoimmune disorder that affects the thyroid gland. In this condition, the immune system produces antibodies that attack the thyroid, leading to inflammation and damage. Over time, reduce the gland's ability to produce sufficient thyroid hormones, often resulting in hypothyroidism. Okay. Have you been diagnosed for hyperthyroidism or hypothyroidism? Let me know, 7X, if you're still here. So, just so you're tracking, hyperthyroidism is a permanent disqualifying condition, no waiver authorized. If it's hypothyroidism and on medication, then you should be good to go. And I'm going to give you what you need to give MEPS. Right here. This is what you need to get MEPS. That's why it sounded familiar. Hypo. Perfect. Hypo, you should be good to go then. Hypo, you're good to go. Look at that. I rhymed. Hell yeah. Scylla Strickland. Oh, good news is for hypothyroidism, 7X, is you should not need a medical waiver and you will be able to continue taking your medication, providing that the results and the things I just told you that you needed to get for MEPS are good and they approve you. No waiver required, and you can drive on and bring that medication with you to training. Now, if and when you get to that point, when you go to the training site with those meds, they're going to confiscate those meds and reissue them through their Army pharmacy and give you your prescription over again, because they're not going to trust what you bring there. But it is one of the few authorized medications that you can join with and not be penalized or restricted. Scylla Strickland says, 55, sir, not shy about my age. So August 2020, sorry for your loss. I hope to see here for many more years, sir. Well, I'm not leaving YouTube anytime soon, but I'm trying to work out my exit strategy by becoming a full-time YouTuber. But I don't think that my dream to be a full-time YouTuber is going to work out, because I don't make jack from YouTube, and it would be a volume game, and I don't want to make my channel all about money. I do appreciate the super chats that I get and the Google AdSense that I get, but I honestly don't make a lot from it. So I'm probably gonna have to find a plan B. And my retirement plan is, it's not looking too bright. So I'll be here until I figure out my exit plan. So if you guys got good ideas of what I could do that deals with like YouTube and content creation, videography, script writing, and all that stuff, let me know. I'm open up to ideas. All right, so Corrupted Redemption. I'm shocked I got through MEPS without any issues. I was waiting on a Code 3 waiver and signing for my job next week. Big hype. Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Good stuff. You're welcome, 7X. If I could join, is there... I already talked about that. This person says, I'm a permanent resident, hopefully with a green card, and I'm about to enlist into the military, and I'm really enjoying your videos. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Welcome to my channel. Can a reservist also choose option 19? That would be up to your reserve / active duty regular Army recruiter. I'm not sure if that would be offered to the reserve or not, but that's definitely an active duty and reserve thing, not a National Guard thing. Lorraine Paul says, thank you for the guidance through this process. You have a true knack helping people. I try. Appreciate that. Thank you. What is the difference between an E4 specialist and an E4 corporal? So E4 specialist and E4 corporal are the same pay grade, but an E4 corporal is now assigned a leadership role and basically entering the non-commissioned officer corps as a junior leader. So they're prepping them with more responsibility to then get promoted to sergeant. Usually they'll switch from a specialist to a corporal when they're waiting to get promoted to sergeant. Like maybe they sign their promotion order or whatever the case may be, and they're just waiting to get promoted to E5, or they're promotable and they see potential in the individual and they decide, you know what, let's just make him a corporal and make him start acting and filling in the role as an official leader. And that's basically what it is. Tracy says 6 months on a DMPM after the waiver has arrived at DMPM. In my experience, that's including the time it takes to get through all the proper channels to get to DMPM. But yes, worst case scenario, up to 6 months. But in my experience, including the time period from going from your recruiter through their leadership to the different channels to get to the waiver department, it includes up to 6 months altogether. Spike says failed hearing by 1 frequency in the left ear. Oh, that's waiverable for sure. And you can definitely get infantry for that. So the thing is, like, it's not tied to like one MOS or the other in most 99% of the time. It used to be like that back in the day, but currently right now, like even special forces, like if you qualify for a medical waiver, you'd be able to go with that medical waiver. Did you do your hearing consult and do another hearing test? Could have just been a bad day. So if you watch my MEPS video, well, I'm gonna give it to you anyway, but just in case somebody else wants to watch it, just because it's a fire video, and this is exactly what I brief my applicants when they go to take the medical exam in most cases. But with that being said, if you're waiting to do your hearing consultation, the day before, all day, I don't care, like have earplugs in your ear all day, all night, and keep the earplugs in your ear until you're about to step into the booth to do a hearing test. Then you're going to take out the earplugs. You're going to close your eyes, because the theory is when you close your eyes, you take one sense away. Your other senses are heightened and more sensitive. You're going to control your breathing nice and shallow, because if you breathe too abruptly in either direction, it makes a noise, and you're going to hear it inside the headset, the Mickey Mouse headset. And don't move your head around too much, because you will hear and remember, and right, the cord makes noise when you move your head. So those are just my pro tips to improving your hearing test when trying to join. JG says, I was talking to Sergeant First Class Klaus, but looks like I may have to go guard 11 Bravo and enter joining in the Arizona and requesting a 10 SFRE for I contact if he potential. I'll go. Yeah, from my understanding, you can go straight through him, but double check with him. I mean, it's been a minute since I spoke to him about special forces that time during the podcast, but I was under the impression that if you're otherwise eligible to go special forces, that they'll make it happen for you and you don't have to go through your local recruiters in your state. Amaya says, thanks. I have documentation that I don't have it. Hang on. I have documentation of I don't have it now. Sorry, I'm not sure I follow, but I'm pretty sure you'll clarify in a moment in another message, because you're on point tonight. All right, so we got Hunter says, one more question. What's the weight requirement? I currently weigh 222 and 6'2". I'm assuming you're a male, but I would probably say it's about 180, 190 something off the top of my head. I don't have the regulation in front of me, but at 222, you'll pass. Even with the body fat percentage, when they calculate it, you'll be fine. I have people at 5'5", 5'8", at 225, 230 pass the body fat composition, so you'll be fine. M1 Garrison says, is there a reason to sign for more than 3 years? What is the benefit? If you're going guard or reserve, then I either tell you to go 3 years or 6 years. I always recommend the shortest contract possible, which is 3 years, because you can always extend your contract out however many months, years, or days to equate to the 6-year requirement to qualify for the Montgomery GI Bill. In this example, in the reserve guard, that would be specifically the 1606 Select Reserve Montgomery GI Bill. So I say 3 years, so we'll keep the number simple. You sign up for 3 years, and you get the federal tuition assistance of $4,500 per year. If you go guard, up to 100% to all community and state universities and colleges. And if you do 6 years, then you get the Montgomery GI Bill, which is around $481 per month as a full-time student for 36 months or 36 payments. So with that aside, so you're in 1 year of your 3-year contract, you have 2 years left. Let's say at that point you're full of salt and vinegar, you've completed all your training, and you're like, man, this is the next best thing since sliced bread. I really wish I got that GI Bill because I'm in college knee deep and I could use that extra $481 a month. And at this point, you can extend your contract, in this example, 4 more years, now having and meet that 6-year requirement. And then you can get the Montgomery GI Bill and get it. These are one of the few exceptions that you can re-enlist outside of that 365-day window of your current end date of your current contract. The only downside to this is now you're serving a total of 7 years had you have originally signed up from the front or from the jump with a 6-year contract. But don't let that deter you. I still recommend a 3-year contract because you might join and you might not like it. Now, if you're going regular Army, I would recommend a 4-year contract because you'll maximize the benefits. The reason why I say that is because your initial entry training doesn't count towards the, shouldn't count towards the VA benefits of the post 9/11 active duty, basically, GI Bill, which is called the post 9/11 GI Bill. So you need 3 years of that to get 100% of that benefit. So if you do the 2-year option, because they do have a 2-year option, but that does not include your basic training and job training. So you're doing about 3 years regardless. So to get the full benefit of you serving active duty regular Army, just do a 4-year contract. It's just my 2 cents, and I talk about it in this video here about contracts. I break down the best options for you. Not sure which one you're going for, but and then National Guard education benefit video here that also covers the reserve and active duty as well. Unlimited says 100. That's what I'm talking about. Appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. Hunter Sewell says I was going active with the Navy. Oh yeah, we already talked about that. JG says I've been doing research since I was in high school back in 2009, and when I got out in 2020, I spoke with the civil affairs psychologist, and he said, or they then said, I needed to scratch my special forces itch and found CLOS last year. That's what I'm talking about. Good stuff. Well, hopefully you get through the process, and please feel free to keep me posted on your progress and all of that, because I would definitely be interested in interviewing one day if you'd like, if you're down for the cause. Amaya says, does that documentation count as confirmation? I'm not really sure, because the last comment you talked about documentation, I didn't really understand what you meant. Let me scroll up and see if I can find something other than that last one. If I understood this comment right here that you posted about the bullying, if you have documentation of the second opinion saying that it was a misdiagnosis, then you should be good, if I understand you correctly. if that makes sense. Sorry, I'm just scrolling back down to see where I last left off. And I am almost there. This was 4 years ago for Hunter. I think we spoke about that. JG says, I had seen your channel and literally a month or 3 after talking to class, I saw the videos coming out with you interviewing. Oh, okay, perfect. That's awesome. Yeah, the downside to that podcast, that particular one, is we had technical difficulties and they ended up using their cell phones on their end. And then because they were so close to sitting to each other, if you've ever put 2 phones next to each other, it makes that weird radio noise that's like wild and crazy. So we ended up using 1 phone, and I had to manually edit the audio for when the operator spoke to distort his voice, and that was very, very tedious. And I had to raise the levels of them talking because I didn't have a mic in their ear or something closer to them to hear. So like my audio was nice and crispy and theirs was like very, very faint. So that was very frustrating to edit. It took me a lot longer to edit. But yeah. Valencia Chamber says, what's the weight requirement for ladies? It depends on how old you are and how tall you are, and I don't have the height and weight chart in front of me, but if you want to direct message me on Instagram, you can hit me up there. Let me know how old you are and how tall you are, and I'll be able to look it up. Probably not tonight, but tomorrow. Maybe not tomorrow because we have a company meeting all day, but definitely by Friday I can get it to you. But maybe in between things tomorrow I can look it up and let you know. MEPS was easy. I had asthma, ADHD, broken bone in my hand, cracked rib, a concussion, and they only made me get a waiver for my eyes. Hey, don't complain, man. That's awesome. Anakna Skywalker says, hashtag Team SWARTZ, appreciate you. You probably wouldn't know, but what's the difference between 19 Delta and 19 Charlie? OSUT, I believe it's a Fort Moore, Georgia still, or up to the same. And in reception, what was the longest station finance? I don't know what the difference is between 19 Delta or Charlie, to be perfectly honest with you. But I'll tell you real quick what I find on ChatGPT. All right, so I looked that up. It should be around 22 weeks, but So 19 Charlie is primarily dealing with Bradley fighting vehicle crewman, and 19 Delta is cavalry scouts. So the BFV, or the Bradley fighting vehicles, this MOS specializes in operating and maintaining the Bradley fighting vehicle. Soldiers in this role focus on mounted warfare on the vehicle, including driving, gunning, and maintaining the BFV. They are part of an armored brigade combat teams, ABCTs, and aim to enhance proficiency in large-scale combat operations, where conversely with 19 Delta Cav Scouts are reconnaissance, meaning going behind enemy lines, observing the enemy and such, specializes and responsible of gathering intelligence on the enemy positions and movements. Their role involves both mounted and dismounted operations, focusing on reconnaissance and surveillance and security tasks. And let's see what they say about the OSEX. I'll skip the rest because it's going to take up too much time. So It says here that 19 Delta is 22 weeks, which is what I suspect. And for 19 Charlie, has not been developed yet, but is expected to be in line with 19 Delta of 22 weeks. That's what it says. Alexis says, what about pre-hypertension or hypertension in previous medical records or even at MEPS? So if you are determined to have hypertension now, you're not getting in. If you're at pre-hypertension currently, chances are that waiver will still get denied. If you've had pre-hypertension or hypertension in the past, but you've had 6 to 12 months or longer not being diagnosed at the levels of pre-hypertension or hypertension, and you've been off a medication or no medication for 6 to 12 months or longer, then a medical waiver can be entertained and should expect to have a favorable outcome for a medical waiver. CJ Can, working with the active duty recruiter. I'm 17 years old, a junior in high school. He gave me 2 choices: wait till senior year to since that my contract, or join reserves for split training, and then in my senior year before AIT transfer. I'm not sure how the AIT would transfer, because when you're in the reserve, just like the National Guard, you have to be conditionally released to go active duty, and it's pretty difficult to do that. Well, at least what the active duty recruiter was saying in this elite group of recruiters that I'm a part of on Facebook. They said it's been more recently more of a challenge, but I don't want that to deter you. So when you do split training option, you have to understand that you have to sign a 6-year contract. There's no way around it. The good news is if you do split op, especially as a junior, right? So for the next 2 years or so, it's going to take you to get MOS qualified to finish all of your training. So you're doing like a 4-year contract after high school. So that's not too bad. That's a pretty good deal. So if I could go back in time, and if I had known about the split training option with the National Guard, I definitely would have chose that. That's just me though. But again, I don't know you well enough to suggest something to you. All I say is watch this video about split training option and you make a determination if that's something that you want to do. And again, if you want to go guard or reserve to active duty, that would be this video here. Guard, reserve to active duty right here. But you do what you think is best. Just do your homework, do your research, and make an informed decision and choose what you feel is best for you. We recruiters get paid regardless if you join or not. All right, remember that. So it doesn't matter what we tell you, but make an informed decision based on accurate information. Okay. Alexis, having a higher blood pressure during MEP screening. Okay, yeah, I think we spoke about that. Bye, Corrupted Redemption. Appreciate you tuning in. Corporal is basically a junior NCO. Yes. CJ Can is to active duty. He said it's as simple as a press of a button for him, but I'm skeptical. I'm trying to trick me in option 2. What's option 2? Let me know. What is option 2? What does that mean? So if you're currently in the IRR, regular Army or reserve recruiters can, yes, do a DA 4187 and put you into the reserve, or maybe active duty is the same way, but I know, yeah, they can put you into active duty or reserve with one document. And it's kind of hard to explain because I don't fully understand it. And my friend, who is a battalion career counselor for the Army Reserve here at Fort Hamilton, was trying to explain it to me before he retired. And he says it's a one document that you'll end up signing to get you into the reserve and maybe active duty as well. I'm assuming it's the same process, but one document. And then when you get to your unit of assignment, that's when you do your new contract at your unit. So that document, in my opinion, the 4187, to me, that's not a contract. But I've seen people get pressured into signing a contract when they get to the unit. So just make sure that whatever's being presented to you, if you're coming from the IR, going into the regular Army Reserve, just make sure that you have some sort of documentation that you're enlisting for a specific MOS or something that you guys are agreeing on. Get it in writing. That way you can fight it in the event that you're getting bamboozled. Because don't ever trust an Army Battalion Career Counselor. I'm speaking from experience through observation and complaints that I get on my Instagram through DMs of people getting bamboozled by Army Reserve Battalion Career Counselors. All right, they say they're getting one thing, and then when they get to the unit to actually start doing the contract and stuff, that's when they realize that it had nothing to do with what things they were talking about that led to them to actually come back into service. So just be careful of that, okay? CJ says, you would have to read both of my comments together for the context. Oh, there's another one? Oh, okay. So working with an active duty recruiter, 17 and junior, he gave me two choices: wait until the senior year since the contract, join the reserve, split training, and then senior year before AIT transfer to active duty. He said that as simple as a press of a button for him, but skeptical. He's tried to trick me with option 2. Yeah, you're right. It does make sense when I read it like that together. All right, so you fall under Army regulations. So it's not as simple as, I mean, yes, it is a one-page document. It's called a DD Form 368 conditional release. And that would be what I just posted in the video about guard to active duty. So that video will explain that process for you. It's not as what I was just explaining to you. It had nothing to do with that. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Maya says, how long does it take to progress for real specialist to staff sergeant in 42 Romeo? I start off on E4, so I'm just curious. So from E4 to E6, several years, like 3 to 4 years or so. And that's if you're high speed, pass height, weight, weapons qualification, all that stuff. Walker Hungate says, we'll be enlisting on Monday. Is it better to have OSUT or normal basic training? Well, that depends on your MOS. If you get a combat support role, then you're going to go through basic training and AIT. If you're going through a combat role, then you're going through OSUT. And honestly, it's the same training. The only difference is OSUT is one station with the same drill sergeants with the same platoon all throughout your training. Whereas in basic training, you're going to do basic training at one site and AIT with a new group and new drill sergeants or instructors at a different site. That's the only difference, but it's the same training. It's just conducted differently. That's all. I'm a permanent resident and would like to apply for 35 series and would like to know what I should do. You're not going to be able to join into the 35 series or any other MOS that requires a clearance. All right, so I want you to watch this video right here because this will go into grave detail. All right, it's which Army MOS is the best. And in it, I will explain to you what restrictions you will have as a green card holder. And after you successfully pass the ASVAB test, get a copy of your test results and plug in your line scores into the Excel sheet that's located into the description area beneath that video. Just open it up on a Google Sheet on your computer, plug in those scores, choose that you're not a US citizen. Anything that remains highlighted is a possibility for you. All right, and by being a permanent resident at time of enlistment or contract is going to hinder your choices. But the upside is it doesn't matter if you've met the 5 years in country as a permanent resident requirement. It doesn't matter if you've been here for 60 days or 30 days or 10 days fresh getting your green card. When you go to basic training, you're going to complete N400 and a N426. Both of those forms, the N400, which is what every resident fills out to apply for US citizenship. The N426 is the military form requesting the ability to expedite, streamline, fast pace your citizenship and waive the fee of like $500 to $1,000 or more for your citizenship. So you'll get your citizenship for free, and by the time you graduate from basic training. So it's a win-win for there. So my recommendation is that you do a 3-year contract and another MOS that you're willing to contract for as a form of an investment to have the ability to negotiate for the new MOS, in this case 35 series, at the end of your current contract, because by then the military will help you get your citizenship and all that good stuff. But the video will make more sense when you watch it. But good luck to you. Tyler, I finished OSUT 2 weeks ago and I just noticed my ears slightly ring. I never noticed it because I haven't been in complete silence for the past 5 months. Just wondering if I should be worried at all. Thank you. It will distort your hearing test for sure. True story, a couple months ago, I had a sinus infection and I don't know why I blew my nose so hard, but I nearly blew out my eardrum. Like I almost perforated my eardrum, but I just bruised it. And I redid my hearing test for my annual health assessment, and my hearing definitely decreased. I mean, granted, it was only 4 weeks after the injury, but my hearing's definitely affected by the injury for sure. Maya says, I was referring to the psychiatric conditions like anxiety and depression. Your recruiter is going to know best with all the documentation and all of the information to make an honest assessment, especially if they're good with waivers and whatnot. Walker Hungate says, Tyler, can you tell me... Oh, that's not for me. It's the other person named Tyler. Okay. Matt Carter says, after what amount of time after graduating AIT is a soldier eligible for air assault school? It's not restricted to rank or how long you've been there. It's if your unit wants to send you, they can send you. Walker Hungate says, quick, I think he meant quick question for the chat. I keep getting different answers from my recruiter. Does basic, or I think he meant basic combat training, count towards the length of your contract, or is it just added on? All right, so if you're going guard or reserve, it's all together and it all counts towards your 3 or 6 year contract. When going active duty regular Army, I think I talk about it in my contract video, but this will go into more detail. Coming in the chat box, link down below too. But with that being said, if you do the 2-year contract, as previously described earlier in the live stream, if you do the 2-year contract, the basic training and job training does not count towards that 2-year contract. So once you get MOS qualified and get to your unit of assignment, then that 2-year contract begins. But if you're signing up for a normal active duty 4-year contract, then yes, your initial entry training count towards that 4-year contract for active duty purposes. Tyler says, Walker, you get to know your drill sergeants better since you have the same ones the entire time, though you do get less privileges, or at least, no, 100%. You're basically treated like you're in basic training the entire time. Oh, one quick thing, the difference between OSUT and basic training, one major difference that I forgot to mention earlier, so if you're still here, listen up, turn the ears up. In basic training and AIT, it's obviously different phases. So in basic training, it's red, white, and blue. And AIT, your advanced individual training, is black and gold. Just like OSUT, red, white, blue, black, gold. The difference between basic and AIT versus OSUT is in basic, if you get recycled, best case scenario, you get recycled to the beginning of the phase that you're currently in. So if you're in the middle of white phase, you go to the beginning of white phase. If you're in blue phase, you go to the beginning of blue phase. Worst case scenario, you get restarted to day 0 of basic training. And if you're in AIT, because you're at a different location, a different site, if you get recycled again, best case scenario, beginning of that phase. If you do get restarted, it's the beginning of AIT altogether. Conversely, in OSUT, if you're in white phase, blue phase, or gold phase, and you get recycled, you're not going to get recycled. You're going to get a restart to day 0 of basic training. So let's say you're 20 weeks knee deep into OSUT, you're 2 weeks away from graduation, you mess up, you go into day 0, all the way to day 0, like day 0. So to me, that's a con, but you do you, boo boo. That's like I'm just saying, just mentally prepare yourself. Mildy says, 1 year in on my VA guard 3-year contract. How soon can I get the recruiter to change MOS and stay guard? Do I have to wait for 1 year left on my contract? Yes. You have to wait until at least 1 year left on your contract, because that when you're under that 365-day window of your current ETS date or end of contract date, that's when you can start and begin your negotiation process. And if they're not willing to work with you at that time or give you what you want, the closer you get to the end date of your current contract, the pressure is on them to get you re-enlisted. And like I said, the closer you get to the end date of your current contract is when they'll be more willing to negotiate and give you what you want. So let's say you're at 364 days out, 1 year still left basically before you end your contract. You'd be, let's say you're a 92 golf cook, right? And you want to be a military policeman. And you say, hey, I want to be military police. They're like, kick rocks. Just sign right here. And you're like, no, man, not unless I get military police. Just play hardball, right? So when you're under the 60-day window, that's when you're going to have more leverage to negotiate and get what you're looking for. JG says, yeah, it was hard to hear certain things, but overall, great video. Touched a lot of the SF stuff. Good stuff. Ian Klopper, hello, hello, hello. Oops. Sorry, I lost my spot somehow. Valencia Chamber says, I'm 36 years old, 5'7", 140. Thanks. It looks like you are, I can't tell because your profile photo is so small. Are you a male or a female? I'm assuming by the name Valencia, it sounds like a female name. God forbid I'm wrong here, but either way, 140, that means you're gonna pass. You'll be fine. You're good. Duo Maxwell, I'm going to OSUT in Fort Leonard Wood for military police. Do you have any information about what it would be like there? Not specifically, but it'll be cold. It'll be in the middle of nowhere. That's why it's called Fort Lost in the Woods, Fort Leonard Wood. And trust me, you'll be fine. You'll be all right. Lalo Vital says, hashtag Team SWARTZ, currently in the National Guard and my MOS is 25 Bravo, Information Technology Specialist. I want to get a secondary MOS that has the same theme, which is 17 Charlie. Would it be possible? If 17 Charlie is in your state, yes, it is possible. Like here in New York, we don't have any 17 Charlies yet. Hope they do. We do have 25 Bravos, but no 17 Charlies. Man, we would kill it if we had 17 Charlies. Like, I don't understand why we don't have them, because we would kill it. Because we here in New York City, we have like so much population here, it's not even funny. But if you're otherwise eligible for it and it's in your state, then yes, you can definitely negotiate that at the end of your contract. Or at the beginning of your contract if you're not in yet, of course. Naka says, what's the first day of basic training like? It's you get a shakedown of all your uniforms and equipment. Make sure you have everything you need. Get rid of stuff that's considered contraband. You're going to get demonstrations of the position of attention, the positions while at the halt. You'll be assigned your bunk, go into your barracks, to include the first 100 yards demonstration as well. And you might have a variation of that if you're outside of infantry school. And sorry, Valencia, my bad, your fault. I can't see your profile picture, but at 140, you're good to go. And again, I apologize for misgendering you. So yeah, so the first thing that you'll do is the first 100 yards, or the variation of that if you're not in infantry school, a shakedown, demonstration, assign your barracks, your bunk. They'll have you start setting up your wall locker and stuff like that. And that's pretty much going to be your first day. And then over the next 2 days, so the first 72 hours is that, to include your initial counselings, your phase counseling, a drug test, and just getting the barracks in order and getting accustomed to all that stuff, and a lot of smoke sessions. CJ says, you would love to read both of my comments. Oh yeah, we did that. What am I signing when I swear in? Your contract. Your contract is your military service obligation of 8 years and whatever your contractual obligation that you agree to. For example, a 3x5. So understand that when you're joining the military, you're signing for a 8-year contract. It's called your MSO for short, or your military service obligation. So to keep it simple, like for National Guard, we have a 3x5 option, a 4x4 option, a 6x2 option, or an 8x0 option. So you have your contractual obligation, and then you have your statutory obligation. Your contractual obligation is you agreeing to work full-time or part-time in whichever component of the military you get into, and you work full-time or part-time over the next 3 years if we're doing a 3x5. If at the end of your current 3-year contract, you're like, you know what, I'm out, I'm done, this military lifestyle ain't for me, I'm out, see you later, then you owe us 5 more years, but you don't have to work with us anymore because your contract that you agree to actively work, whether it's full-time or part-time, is over. So what ends up happening is your MOS and your unique details are stored into a database called the IRR, or the Inactive Readiness Reserve. I like to call it the holy shit callback list. So if the military, the Army rather, in any 3 components of the Army, whether it's active duty, reserve, or guard, they have the ability to pull you out of the IRR and send you on a mission, whether it's here in the States or overseas. And again, that's for the, in this example, for the remaining 5 years. But yeah, so you're signing a DD form 4-1 and a DD form 4-2. Your actual contract. That's what you're signing after you swear in. Ariful Hook says, I was wondering about the PT requirements for the Future Soldier program to rank up to E2 before basic training. You're gonna have to score at least 60% in each event if they actually give you the Army Combat Fitness test. Anakin says, is the Army going to keep the OCP pattern? If so, how long does a camo last typically until it runs out of style? Whether it runs out of style, so I've had 3 uniforms over the course of my 24 years of service to date. When I first joined, it was the BDUs, the battle dress uniform. And then from there, we went to the ACU, which is the Army Combat Uniform. And now we have the OCPs, which is what you see me wearing right now, which is a make-believe uniform. That's why it says Team Swartz instead of U.S. Army Swartz and rank and all that stuff. I had to mix it up. I had my Team Swartz logo on my sleeve, no rank, Team Swartz, no patches down here. But this pattern is probably going to be here for a very, very long time. And your uniform lasts as long as you take care of it, and then it's going to be different depending on your MOS and if you're full-time or part-time. But typically, I'm full-time, and we use the term in the military garrison, so I'm not in the field a lot. So if I'm in garrison, this uniform will last me more than a year. I prefer to get new uniforms on an annual basis because I like to look good and look fresh and crispy. But you will eventually learn that you will have a field uniform that you don't mind getting dirty, ripped up, and just jacked up, and then you have your garrison uniform where you're working in like an office atmosphere, so you look clean, professional, and neat. Same thing with your boots. This person says, thank you very much, I'd really appreciate it, sir. You're very welcome. NASCAR fan says, hello again, it's been a minute. Yes, it has. Hope it's doing, or hope I think he meant hope you're doing well. Trying to get honor guard in the Arlington area of Virginia. Trying to get it off my contract reenlistment with the battalion. What are my options to try and get it? Oh, so you must be active duty. From my understanding, they have one active duty unit that recruits for that. I'm not really sure. I can't remember they were explaining it to us when I did the Army social media influencer thing that I did about 3 summers ago during the Army birthday. But I'd have to get back to you on that. So if you direct message me on Instagram, I could find out for you. Tracy says, thoughts on seeing guys at get option 40 with a moral waiver, if not dropping the packet after enlistment possible. I'm not quite sure how active duty does it, but based on my conversation with Sergeant First Class Klaus with the Oklahoma Army National Guard Special Forces recruiting, they said that as long as you qualify for a waiver, you can get it. But active duty, they kind of do some things different than us. But have that conversation, have that dialogue with your local recruiter. Himothy says, I have to get a medical consult before I enlist because of the alcohol issues in my past. What should I expect? You're gonna have a strong applicant statement, and you're probably gonna do a psych consult. So check out my medical waiver about that. If you have any questions after you watch that video, let me know, and I'll be more happy to address it after that. But you gotta have a solid consultation. They're gonna want to know why you did it back then. You have to own it. What have you done since then to make yourself a better moral character, and so on. I'm not really sure whether it was there was a DUI or DWI, or if it was just alcohol poisoning, or I'm not really sure about your current that situation back then. But without more details, I don't really know what else to tell you that's going to make sense or actually apply to your situation. And Atkins says, OSUT sounds like it sucks if you get recycled. It absolutely does. So it takes a lot of character development, if you ask me. Is it more, or is it for anyone who was recycled that didn't pass PT or marksmanship? They have to go to day 0. That's crazy. It really depends. So let's say you didn't qualify in those 2 weeks, then they will send you with another group to the range to qualify. So they'll give you other opportunities throughout your training, so you don't have to get recycled or restarted. But for sure, if you mess up for a moral reason, like you cursed out the drill sergeant, or you did something you weren't supposed to, like you got caught with your cell phone vaping, or whatever the case may be, because people do crazy stuff, that's like a guaranteed restart to day 0 for sure in those examples. Ryan A, with those, you're good. You'll be back. You'll be fine. Alex says, what are the benefits of joining the Army Reserve? As far as education is concerned, watch that video. And in addition to that, we have healthcare at $50 a month as just for you, the soldier. No more than $220 per month, as many dependents as you have. Dental is about $14 per month plus, or about $34 per month for family coverage. Life insurance is no more than $31 per month, and you're covered up to $500,000 in death gratuity to the survivor, and it's good for on or off duty, even if you were to commit suicide. So pretty good benefits. Fighter Mushi says, I'm shipping out 11 Bravo. Any tips? Yes. Watch this video here. And good luck. Dallin Schaefer says, I'm currently an uncontracted cadet in my college ROTC program. I'm shipping out for Fort Sill in the NMA as a 13 Juliet, but I'm hoping to commission to the Corps of Engineers. Hey, that's a good goal to have. So just make sure that when you're done with all that training and you go back, if you're doing ROTC later on, try to get the SMP contract so you can commission. One of the other benefits of being SMP contracted is that you're non-deployable, so you can focus on your college, because the intent is to get you to commission as an officer. Appreciate it. I didn't know that. Hang on a minute. Appreciate it. I don't know. You'll start over from the beginning if you fail something in OSUT. And thank you for your videos. Reason why I chose the National Guard instead of a big army. I hear that. It really boils down to the reasoning why you might need to get recycled. If it's for a disciplinary issue, plan on getting recycled to day 0. If you got injured or what do I say? Like some sort of like you just didn't qualify and you didn't make it with another group on another day before you graduated, then in that example, you could get recycled to the beginning of that phase. So in this example of BRM, basic rifle marksmanship, you'll go to the beginning of white phase with new drill sergeants, new platoon, and then continue on from there until you graduate. NASCAR fan says, if honor guard don't work out and get out of active and I want to transfer to the National Guard, what would the transferring process look like? So I can't remember if it's the triple RC or the triple C. I can't remember if it's 3 R's and a C or 3 C's or 1 R and 3 C's. But anyway, when you're active duty, you have these career counselors and they can directly transfer you from active duty to the National Guard. They don't like doing that. They prefer not to, but they can and they should and they will directly transfer you to the National Guard. That is the best bet, is to go through them because it's a smooth transition from active duty to the National Guard. Now, as a recruiter, what recruiters would love to say is, nah, fam, get out of the Army. I'll put you in. And in this sense, as long as everything works out in your favor, then you'll have more control to where you go and what MOS. If you go through, and then if you do it that way, depending on how you get discharged, if you're claiming VA disability and maybe, you know, there's an issue that you don't get into the Guard within 6 months, you run the risk of going back to MEPS. And depending on when you originally joined and if Genesis existed and you had pre-existing medical conditions that they're unaware of or whatever the case may be, then you're opening up yourself a can of worms that could prevent you from getting back in, even though you just got out and you're a good candidate to serve. So that is why I say don't get out of the Army and then go. And that's coming from a recruiter, and I'm being 100 with you, right? Because as much as I want a recruiter to get credit for you, screw that. It is not worth getting out to then be denied or be forced to get a waiver and have your medical waiver get denied or whatever. So it is in your best interest to get the active duty career counselors to directly transfer you from active duty to the Guard. You might have less control over where you're going or whatever, but at least you're in the Guard and you don't have any, for lack of a better phrase, you're not playing fuck games, if you know what I'm saying. Dallin Schaefer says, I'm currently oh yeah, we already talked about that. Oh no, we didn't. Uncontracted cadet in my college ROTC program, shipping out basic Fort Sill in May. I'm scoring 510 on my ACFT, which is great. It's over 500. What advice would you have for me since my drill sergeant will know I'm ROTC? It'll probably take a couple weeks before they find out that you're in ROTC, but that's only if you're contracted. If you're not SMP contracted, then they probably won't care or know that you're in ROTC. But if you're an 09 Romeo for ROTC, 09 Romeo rather, and it's in the paperwork for that, then they might know if they know what that code means, but they're not going to care. That's all. Meshi, how are the fitness tests scored and what happens if you can't make the minimum score for something? So there are 6 events on the Army Combat Fitness Test. If you fail one event, you fail the entire test. And how it's scored is there's plenty of videos out there, and the Army Combat Fitness Test, there's a plethora of them. So just click on any one of them and it'll tell you what the do's and don'ts are, and they will brief you the do's and don'ts and all that good stuff every time you go to do the PT test. But you'll be all right. Trust me. The minimum standards are easy. NASCAR fan. About the honor guard. What is the contract going to look like if I go part-time? Because your prior service, it could be 1 year, 2 year, 3 year would be like the minimum. We have a try one option that you can look at. Dallin Schaefer says, I'm working to hit 540 my ACFT before I ship. That's what I'm talking about. Good stuff. Train hard, man. All right, and Akin says, when do I get to buy new boots for basic? Like day one? Week one? No, more like AIT, after basic. And Akin says, you give the best info, definitely worth 1 million subs. I wish, man, but I'm underrated, I believe, and undervalued by the algorithm for sure. I anticipate that if and when I make it to 100,000 subscribers, that the algorithm or YouTube will reward me by putting my content in front of more people. And as a result, I should, and I anticipate that my channel will blow up or glow up. I put a lot of effort into these videos, and like my latest pre-recorded video that I posted about the ASVAB ultimate guide that I posted, that video cost me over 30 hours worth of effort between researching, scripting, fine-tuning the script, trying to make the intro sound interesting. And I'm going to be working on the intros because I think that my intros are too long, and that's why I'm probably losing people maybe. But and then the recording and then the editing process. So I'm over 30,000 hours into that one video, and I'm barely sitting at 1.2 thousand views, which is very, very frustrating as a content creator. But I do appreciate people like you that give me compliments like that. It makes me feel good. Scylla says, oh, it's not for me. User guest says, what are the biggest differences that you have noticed between millennial and Gen Z recruits? Honestly, hang on. Okay. So I want to say the difference between Gen Z and millennials. So I guess I'm a millennial because I was born in '82. And the difference between someone like me and someone who is a Gen Zer, and this is just my personal opinion on observation and not necessarily related to recruiting, but it does relate to recruiting, I guess, is like in my era of when I was born compared to people that were born after 1990, 1995, is when I grew up, like I wanted to work. I wanted to earn money. I was not afraid of work. I wanted to work and contribute and have more sense of pride and sense of independence. Where I see a lot of Gen Zers, and the biggest thing too is if somebody told us to do something, we just freaking did it, you know? And with this new Gen Z generation, I noticed that their dedication to wanting to work hard, work in general, and gain their independence and not quit at the first sign of friction. To me, that's like the main difference. Like people quit easier as a Gen Zer compared to a millennial or a Gen X. It's pretty frustrating. Not just as a recruiter, but just in general in life. So many young people just no aspirations to work. They just want to stay at home and whatever. But hopefully that makes sense. Anakin Skywalker says, I'm not a big airplane guy. You have to go to airplane to go to base training, obviously, but I'm looking at about info. So it really depends on what your region does. Like here in New York City, everyone flies. There's no train, bus, or any other mode of transportation. You're flying, and that's it. Chief Curry or Chef Curry says, what's your honest opinion on someone in their 30s joining? Honestly, age is just a number in the military. Like we literally don't give an F about your age at all. Like it's all in your head. Nobody cares. Seriously. And from a drill sergeant's perspective and through observation, I noticed that older people around that age, or between 25 and older, basically, it closer to 30 or higher, honestly. But I feel that you guys outperform younger people between the ages of 17 to 25. Why? Because you've had a job, you've worked, you are a lot, you know, you have experienced life, right? You have to have worked at least, right? You may be educated, you probably have a spouse or had a spouse, you may or may not have kids. Like, you have been adulting for a very long time, so you've learned to handle stressors and to cope and to adapt and to mend, or not mend, but to mold and integrate into the organization that you're with, and basically be an adult. Whereas somebody who's 17 to, let's say, 21, who may or may not have gone to college or just living at home like a bum, this is going to be their first time away from home. This is going to be the first time that they have to wash their clothes, iron their clothes, and take care of themselves, and, you know, do adult like things. And that could be a lot of stress for them, and that's what they stress about. But someone who's older like you, it's nothing, you know. So I actually have a video you can watch, and I have more thoughts that you could check out there. But trust me, age is just a number. Nobody cares. Yes, they're still using the old blues for honor guard. Anthony Frater says, I just enlisted into the National Guard and I plan on doing an SMP program in college. I just enlisted in the National Guard. Okay. Oh, and I'm planning on doing an SMP program. Could you make a video on that? What would you like to know about that video? In fact, Instagram, text me, because I'm not, what time is it? Oh, I'm past the 2 hour. Yeah, you're definitely going to want to DM me. Let me know what you want to know in that specific video, and yeah, I'll definitely make a video about it. And I'll take any recommendation from y'all. BT says, working to lose 60 pounds, already lost 38. Hey, that's what I'm talking about. Damn, 286 to 248, you're killing it. That is freaking awesome. Want to get the cask out? Any tips for conditioning? You know who you want to reach out to? 2 people. Gritty Soldiers YouTube channel and at Era of Tech on Instagram. Era of Tech has free workout guides that will help you to prepare for something like that. And Gritty Soldier is all about fitness. So Gritty Soldier, both of these are active duty soldiers, and Gritty Soldier is an officer. I'm not sure. I think he's in the Ranger Battalion, or I don't know, somewhere. And anyway, awesome guy, awesome channel, great tips, and he has some programs that you can purchase through him. Era of Tech is just a awesome, super duper down to earth kind of guy. Awesome, love the guy. But he's got free resources for you in his what do you call it? You know those links that link other things? I forgot what it's called. But yeah, definitely go check him out. 22 Cleveland says, I was in a different branch for 6 years and I'm going to be reenlisting to the Army. Do I have to buy my medals, ribbons, and stripes before basic training, or should I wait until I was told to buy them from the PX? Yes, buy them at the PX. They will not be issued to you. You'll have to purchase them out of pocket, unfortunately. And Atkin says, you said a bad word. No, I'm going to tell townsfolk. I don't know what you're talking about, Willis. I actually curse quite often. I just don't do it much on YouTube. I gotta stop that though. I usually say FF, but I don't know. I was feeling froggy tonight. Chef Curry says, I guess you're saying I shouldn't join. No, I'm not saying that at all. You do what you want to do though. Duo Maxwell says, do you know what I should study for before I go to OSUT? I want to be ahead of everyone. I already have to. Okay. Do law enforcement training help out with basic training, MP training, you think? I know the military is kind of the military is definitely gonna have different SOPs, standard operating procedures. There's gonna be a lot of things that are similar, but each department is gonna do their own thing. But as far as preparing for basic, again, I don't know if you saw this earlier, but best ways to prepare for basic training. All my tips to prepare for basic are in there. I recommend that you download the Blue Book. that's linked underneath that video, and that's exactly what you're going to be reading when you get to the basic training site or OSUT. And yeah. Thank you. Does having a commercial license help with anything? A commercial driver's license, if you're going in as an 88 mic motor transport truck driver, basically, then yes, there's a program called ACASP, Civilian Acquired Skills Program, that will, if approved, you'll join as a specialist D4 with or without a 4-year degree, and it may waive certain portions of your 88 motor transport truck driving AIT. G Vasquez says, if they don't have the MOS I want available when I go to enlist, how long do I have to wait before I can reclass, or is that not an option? At the end of your current contract. So if you watch this video, I'm going to suggest that if you can wait it out, depending on the MOS and the component of the Army you're trying to get into, then I suggest that you just wait it out until, as long as you're otherwise qualified and eligible for it, wait until it becomes available. That way, more so if you're going active duty. If you're going guard or reserve, it really doesn't matter, in my opinion. Anthony Frater says, I plan to commission active duty after finishing college in ROTC. There we go. Good stuff. Brandon says, I'm going to basic training at the end of the month and I'm going in as a 35 Sierra. Awesome MOS. What can I expect? I'm nervous. Here is my basic training miniseries playlist. I recommend that you watch the overview video, the reception video, and red phase. And all of those videos will tell you exactly what to expect at basic training. So usually most people like you who are nervous, which is perfectly normal, 1. 2, by watching the miniseries, I'm going through each day of what to expect at Army basic training. So the edge, or it's going to take the edge off of your not knowing what to expect. Now, knowing what to expect and experiencing it are two very different things. But at least knowing what to expect, it could.
Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. I'm pretty confident that my wife was cleaning the living room and she disconnected my Wi-Fi, so so I just connected to my landlord's Wi-Fi. So I apologize for that, but it is the end of the night, and I'm not sure if the question I left off is here. No, it is here. So it was this one that I was trying to have. My medical consult is for a DUI. I watched your video, but didn't touch on that. Direct message me on Instagram, because that's going to take up too much time to elaborate on, but I got you. Vim says, I had a heart palpitation like 3 years ago. I had to move into the ER. Does that disqualify me? Yes, you will definitely need a waiver and updated EKG for sure. And they are clean. So check out my medical waiver guide video right here. I sound like a robot. That is super strange because I'm not even using my regular mic. So if you can understand me, I'm going to call it. It's because I don't understand. I don't know why it sounds like that for you guys. So appreciate y'all. Stay blessed, be good, and I will see you next week. Have a good night. You can Instagram chat me on, or you can send me a direct message on my Instagram, or you can shoot me an email to teamswartzmedia@gmail.com, and I will get you an answer to you in the next couple of days. But I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Take care and stay blessed. Team Swartz.